to the November 20th Village of Woodbury Planning Board meeting. I ask that you please stand. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take your seats. All right. A couple of housekeeping items. The first one being December 4th will be the last meeting of the year for the planning board.
So it is going to be the 4th.
It is going to be the 4th.
So we're asking
Yeah. So the 4th, everybody got that on the calendars. Last meeting of the year for us. All right. Next item is we are in receipt of the October 16th minutes. I know they were very, very lengthy, very hard, very long to read this time. Does anybody have any questions on the October 16th minutes? No. All right. So I'll offer a motion to accept those minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I think in my 7 years, those are probably the shortest minutes this board has ever had. All right, first item on the agenda. Highland Mills Group Center, public hearing continued for subdivision, site plan, special permit, and ARB for proposed 84-unit senior housing project located on the east side of Route 32 near the intersection of Ford Avenue and Highland Mills. Said property is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Maps, Section 218, Block 2, Lot 7, 9, 10, 11, and 13. I know the applicant is not here tonight. They have actually requested that they had been removed from the agenda, but we had already noticed the public hearing. So with that, is anybody here to talk about Highland Mills Senior Group Center?
We are.
Please.
I just want to know more about it.
Well, we don't have a presentation tonight because they haven't given any new application to us or any new material to us. So what had happened is they were here 2 months ago, and they gave a presentation, and we stayed the public hearing, so solicit information. They have requested to be removed from the agenda because this is the technical details. The New York State Stormwater Prevention Plan is changing in 2025, so their site plan is going to have to change to accommodate that. So they want to wait for those new laws to go into effect till they re-present to us. So that's why they asked for the. We don't know. It will be renoticed, but everything they have presented to us so far is on the village website. So you can go to the Village of Woodbury, go to boards, planning boards, and there's a little folder that will say projects, and you can look for Highland Mills Group Center, and everything that has been given to us since the inception of the project is there for you to review. But I do promise the next time they're back, their representatives will be here, and they'll give a presentation prior to us reopening the public hearing. So,
Okay, so we're going to
yeah, we're going to reopen. Even though we're closing it tonight, we're going to reopen it once they submit new drawings, and it is at the request of the applicant.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that as clear as stained glass? Hopefully, I know it's a lot to.
You'll be able to speak.
You will
next time.
you will be able to speak.
Any developments happening except reading that sounds interesting.
But yes, they will be back in front of us. Look at the website. I don't know, how did you find out about the meeting tonight? Okay, so it will be republished in the photo news just like this one was, and you'll be able to come down. The representative will be here. They'll give a little spiel, and then you'll be able to state your piece.
And the next thing is Valley Seafood?
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Okay.
We got to go one by one. I know.
It's a process.
It's a process. Anybody else in the Highland Mills Group Center? Don't all get up at once. Once, twice, 3 times a lady. All right, I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing for Highland Mills Group
I
Center.
will second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item, Valley Seafood, public hearing, review and discuss SECRA for the site plan, special permit, and ARB for mixed-use building. Said property is located at 30 Valley Avenue in Central Valley and is known to the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 230, Block 6, Lot 2. Just give me a second to get your stuff up. There we go. All right, go ahead.
David Nimatko with the architectural firm presenting the project. Happy to be back. We have met on site, I believe it was on October 15th, with the chair and with the DPW super and municipal engineer and traffic consultant and reviewed the conditions on the site. There were recommendations made, and so we adjusted the plans accordingly. I outlined those adjustments in our cover letter of November 6th that was submitted to the board. Additional signage. Number 2 was a white pavement line to delineate the east edge, additional curbing, a new crosswalk and details, and then the existing telecommunication overhead lines to be removed prior to construction, which summarizes basically everything that happened. To help facilitate things, we delineated the property line on site so we were able to physically see the closeness or the proximity of the parking to the property line, and everything seemed to work well, and we're here to continue.
So just to elaborate before, Natalie, just to elaborate to the board, as David said, we had met with the consultants, everybody out there. We had them mark out. There were some questions at board had about the parking spots at the end. So we met on site. We actually took a tape measure out there and ruler and kind of walked through everything. Well, that's where David, that's where the changes came. For snow, a lot of the changes came at the request of Superintendent Wyatt. As far as striping, snow push easement and stuff like that.
That's what I was gonna do, where we push the snow.
Yep, so there's a couple snow push easements and stuff like that. So I'm sure Natalie will, and Phil will discover that in nauseating detail.
So the applicant is before the board tonight for a public hearing. At this point, our comments are mostly ministerial or suggested conditions of your eventual resolution, but there are a couple of things that I did want to discuss with the board. The first is that the applicant has requested waivers from your typical site plan requirements. Those are listed in our memo with our disposition on the same, and generally we think that they're all appropriate. You know, pertaining to like whether a SWIP is required, you know, the site, doesn't exceed an acre in disturbance and things of that nature. Also, regarding our most recent memo, we've weighed in or asked the applicant to consider certain changes to the site plan that may be more preference-based, so I wanted to just kind of raise them for the board so that you can weigh in on those. The first is related to the snow storage areas that are now shown on the plan. When we met on site, we were kind of discussing the area on the southernmost portion of the site, and we talked about having a depressed curb there to allow for the snow push. Now the applicant is showing other snow storage easement areas to the north of the site, and with that, we're not sure if the applicant wants to consider mountable curbs to allow for a snow push essentially, or if you would just presume to, you know, do it by hand, you know, shoveling. So that's something for the applicant to consider, and if the board wants to weigh in on that, they can. The second is that it was suggested that signage for spots to the north of the property be revised from private parking to parking for 30 Valley Avenue only. And again, that's sort of just to mitigate any confusion that might be raised for users of the site. And again, that's something that we think the distinction could be at the applicant's discretion, but again, if the board wanted to weigh in on it, they should. And the last is that the applicant's proposing to use concrete curb for the various improvements on the site. We typically recommend applicants use Belgian block. They're less susceptible to degradation by salt practices, and then also there's ease of localized repairs, so it also tends to be cheaper. So it's, again, something for the applicant to consider, and then the board can weigh in on it. And I think that at this point, the applicant has attempted to address everything that was raised in the field. Once the plan is in its final form, we think it should be referred to the highway superintendent again, just for his feedback and confirmation that everything is satisfied. We've recommended you discuss certain things with council regarding enforcement of the no parking signage along the front of the building, as well as whether or not Valley Avenue should be dedicated back to the village, the right-of-way there. And again, I think the rest of our stuff is pretty minor at this point. So unless the board has any questions, that's all I have.
Questions for Natalie?
No.
No? Dr. Phil?
Yes, Philip Greeley. David had made the modifications based on our field visit. Natalie actually covered our two comments, that whatever permits from the village street superintendent should be made a condition, just to make sure that everything is covered to his satisfaction. And the no parking signs that are shown along the, I call it the loading dock or the front portion there, again, those have to be enforceable, would have to be worked into the code with the village board in order to make them enforceable. Other than that, the other changes were based on our field visit, and the dimensions and everything now work, so I think we're satisfied with that.
Questions from the board for Dr. Phil?
No.
No? Okay. I have, you didn't put a waiver request in yet, right, for water, with the village board?
Not yet.
Okay, because you know we can't do anything as far as action-wise until you get that taken care of.
Submitted?
Well, they have to have a rendering, a decision.
So submitted and a decision from the board.
Yeah. And then we're still waiting on the commercial operation narrative. I know we talked about it when we were at the site visit, because you had alluded to that the applicant stated that they're going to diminish the operations somewhat there.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're still waiting on that to come in.
Okay.
And that, this side over here, what number 3 is, this is the snow push area that you're talking about with the depressed curb?
Yeah. Whether or
Well,
not that should be mountable or depressed, or whether or not, the applicant just intends to do that manually.
Well, on the north side, it's small, so we're thinking it's just about manual removal of the snow, as opposed to the south side, which is a larger area.
Sure.
So, this is our approach with the project.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or concerns about that?
Just as long as it's enforceable and it gets done.
No, we'll capture it in a condition.
Yeah, I think similar to what it was for CVPM, we've recommended a condition that it says snow storage shall be maintained in a safe and orderly condition in an area that does not cause nuisance or pavement icing on or off site. If on-site snow storage, snow melt, and/or icing becomes a problem, as determined by the village building inspector, the applicant shall be required to provide for services to remove the snow from the site as necessary to the village building inspector's satisfaction.
A lot of words to say, you gotta get
Yeah.
rid of the snow. You gotta get rid of the snow if it becomes a problem.
We
This
understand.
is not a village road right now? You can't
Yes.
rededicate it?
So technically, and I would like to look this way, because the village has maintained it for a certain amount of time, it is technically a village right-of-way, although the area associated with this property extends to the other side. So,
If it's not a village road, quote unquote, now, how would any kind of parking be enforced on it?
That's the,
yeah, that's the
That's the-
kind
that's
of
the-
crux
The
of
crux
it.
of the whole thing?
that's the crux of the whole
Yeah.
thing. So we think in conversations, and again, not gonna speak for Kelly not being here, but by way of law, because the village has maintained it for over 10 years,
That we
that
don't
it,
be able to enforce
it,
it.
it becomes a village right away just by operation of law.
Okay.
But we need the young lady with the ESQ after.
You're the lawyer tonight.
I'm playing both today. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express, but we'll just have her confirm that one for me. But that's my best guess on that one.
All right.
Any questions, other questions for the applicant or for the consultants before we go to the public?
That's all I have.
I saw somewhere, I forget which document review, that we had to ensure that none of the construction material fell into the railway.
Mhm.
So that would be a condition as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll read it to you if you want, what we've suggested. Let's see. So we've recommended a condition that would put the responsibility on the applicant to perform all construction in a manner to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and conduct construction to prevent debris falling toward and onto the railroad tracks. So that's, unless you want to bolster the language, Kelly will probably take it from there.
Did you happen to find out about those communication wires that are over? Because I know
Abandoned.
there was a question about the height of the building and those wires.
Yeah, they're abandoned.
So we're just going to frame around them, or do
Well, we'll have this circumference, tube that goes through the
Yeah.
attic space that'll allow, to give some homage to the past, but no, it'll be removed.
The railroad's gonna take them down?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's all I have for my notes for now. Anybody else from the board?
That's all I have at the moment.
All right. I ask that you just please grab a seat, unless you have questions for us while we go to the public.
Nope.
I know there's a young lady eager to speak tonight.
Uh-oh.
All right, so first row on Valley Seafood. Just gotta state your name and where
My
you're
name
from.
is Ellen Hoffman. I'm from Central Valley.
Thank you.
I live by the train station, and as far as I know, it's been designated as a historical building. I brought with me the calendar, the 2025 calendar from the Historical Society that so states. Central Valley Railroad Station in here. If you want to take a look at it, you're welcome to. And I want to know how they can go and change this whole historical building to add apartments on the top. If I'm understanding it correctly, that apartments are going up top.
Yes.
Right now, the employees or the parking that's there, and you were just addressing some of that, when people come there, they are parking in front of the building. When they park there, it hinders the traffic flow on Valley Avenue because you can't see. They are right at the top of the incline. You cannot see on either side if a car is coming. I've had that experience. So that's a problem if they're going to continue to park on Valley Avenue, which should not be, but they do it anyway. Their garbage. Right now, it's all over the place. They don't keep it clean. The place is a mess. It's an eyesore at this point with all that goes on, more so towards the north end of the building that this gentleman said is a small area. Yes, it is a small area, but it still needs to be maintained and taken care of. It's not. If I look at this, they're going to extend into the north end of the building?
The overall footprint of the building's not changing, so they'll just be going up. But the length and width of the building would be staying the same.
Okay, but it's still designated a historical building of Woodbury. I don't know if you gentlemen were aware of that or not.
Well,
I'm
we're
taking
gonna
it
have to have
from the
council
looks
look
of
at
it
that
that you're not.
because we did, SHPO, which is the State Historical Society, came back and did not state anything about it being a historical building. So,
Would you like to look in
no,
here?
and I'm not saying I disagree with you, but Woodbury doesn't actually have a historical district or a historical overlay district itself. There is no historic district in Woodbury. So if the Historical Society is deeming it historic, I've got to see what they're using to determine that.
All right, and how would you find that out?
Well, I'm going to give it to our legal counsel, and she'll do the legwork on that one.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause I
all
thought it
right.
was I thought it was only the property owner that can do that.
That can make the designation, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of how many trains use those tracks every day. And frequently at night, there are freight trains that come through there. They park on the track until a train comes southbound or northbound, whatever, until they can pass. The fumes, I live down the street from there, I get fumes in my house. I can't imagine fumes in this building from these trains idling. And it isn't just the freight trains, the passenger trains. When they need to pass, they sit and idle there. Or if they can't go, sometimes they're there for a half hour or more, and especially at night for the freight trains. Train whistles, constant. There's constant trains on this Port Jervis line all day long and all night long. I can't imagine living in an apartment here and having that train whistle come through right out my window. It doesn't make sense to me. I think that's all I had to, just so you know, I'm against it. If you haven't gotten that notice. I just think it's a terrible thing to do to this building. It hasn't been maintained since they went in there. What are they going to do when they get more people in there even though they're, like you said, they may be downgrading their business. So what else is going in there if they're going to do away with some of their business end of it? More apartments?
Well, they would only be getting approval if it was approved for the apartments above. They couldn't change to more apartments on the first floor.
So if they're diminishing their business, does that mean they have to come back before you if they're planning to use the other part where they would no longer be using it?
As for something other than commercial?
Something other than, yes,
Yes.
for the seafood place?
Yes, they would have to come back and seek reapproval, or a new approval to reuse the first floor as something other than commercial.
Yeah, other than commercial, it could change from being seafood, but it would have to be a commercial business.
So it doesn't
Can't be
necessarily...
apartments unless they get back in front of us, if that's.
Okay, because as a seafood place, I couldn't imagine living above that with the smell. I mean, that just makes sense to me, but I just live down the street, that's all. But I'm very concerned that the village of Woodbury, the town of Woodbury, is changing too significantly. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense for apartments in this place where they want to put them. You have to live down there to hear the trains. I mean, that has to be a big aspect of what you need to look at. They just did some major work for months now on the tracks there. The trains are constant, the noise is constant, the fumes are constant. It just needs to be taken into effect, into consideration because of people living there and having that in their home.
We don't look at the business plan. We look at suggestions and proposals that they're making.
Can you speak louder, please?
Yeah. We're not looking at the business plan. We don't tell them how to do their business.
Okay.
If we're going to develop a property, we just have to make sure that it's done legally. It doesn't matter to us if it's a commercial success or not. That's not the aspect.
Really?
We don't look at the commercial aspect. We look at the legality of it. And if we have to make any changes or any referrals to the zoning board, things like that.
So because they've come with all their site plans and all their plans, what I'm saying to you has nothing to do with what's going on?
What I'm saying is we don't look at the commercial feasibility. We look at the legality. They come to us with the plans. Just because we review the plans doesn't mean we give an automatic approval. It has to meet the letter of the law. And if there are any deviations that they need a variation for, they have to go to the zoning board of appeals. We don't judge it on a commercial basis.
Okay, so the process is from here, it goes to zoning board, is that what it is?
hasn't come through here yet. If a variance is required, then it goes to the zoning board.
They've already been in front of the ZB. They have all their variances already. So that they're back to us for a final site plan,
But I thought they wanted another change.
not for a variance.
No, I don't think any, they've received a variance for lot coverage and one of the setbacks at this point.
And you're considering the
Lot
parking
area,
here
sorry.
adequate for
It-
what they want to do?
It meets the definition of the village code for the number of spaces required for the site.
I'm picturing this parking lot, and I can't imagine, how many apartments are supposed to go upstairs?
Two
Two-bedroom
two
apartments.
two-bedroom.
All right, and that requires how many parking spaces per apartment?
It's 2 for each apartment, so 4 total.
So 4, plus the employees of this business, plus the owners that come.
Yes, if Chris goes to the right.
Yeah.
And that parking is going to be
The other-
adequate enough?
Per the code, yes,
Yeah,
it
they'll
meets
have
the parking
12
requirements.
They'll have 12 spots when they're done.
Must be something wrong with my math, because I can't understand how you're going to get 12 parking spots there, because
So,
otherwise they're going to be
the
right
spot-
on
the-
Valley Avenue.
Right on the board.
The spot towards the end, down towards Peroni Circle, the other side of Peroni Circle, down towards the overpass,
Yeah,
does that dirt area that's there right now.
Yeah.
They have to improve that to include 4 additional spots there.
So that's their property there, not the railroad's?
That is theirs, correct. Actually,
Okay.
believe it or not, their property right now runs all the way across the street to the fence.
As does most of the people on Valley Avenue?
Yeah.
Their properties run to the center?
So their property line goes all the way down to, actually, probably another 50 feet past those spots at the end. So this is Peroni, if you look, this is Peroni Lane coming down. Mm-hmm. So if you come down to Peroni Lane, that's actually their property line there. So
Okay.
this spot here becomes snow storage. So for these 4 parking spots, that's where the snow would go. And then they have to improve this area, which is the dirt right now and the weeds. That has to get improved to 4 spots as well.
All right.
So there's where they pick up the 4 additional spots. So based on what the client is representing to us, the applicant is telling us, and we can only go by what the applicant is telling us, that with the apartments and the narrative they're gonna provide, as far as the commercial operation, it's based on square footage of the building. So based on square footage of the building, they have enough spots to support both the commercial and residential aspect. They're not looking for any waivers, they're not looking for anything. They can meet the code requirements with the property they have.
Okay, and my question then becomes, if they have more cars there than parking spaces available, what happens?
So the front of the building will be signed as a no parking zone.
Okay.
And that will be enforceable by the village, by the town of Woodbury Police. So it then turns into, if anybody that's not parking in the right spot, it'd be a call to the police, and they would have to enforce that, whether it's ticketed towing, knocking on the door, telling them to move their cars. But it is a concern this board had, and when we did sit and meet with them, that whole front of the building becomes a no loading zone and a no parking zone. And that 52-foot trailer that you see there now,
Right.
that goes away.
Okay,
So that this becomes an actual loading dock that can be used. So part of the approval is that trailer goes away. That 52-foot trailer is not going to be there anymore. The garbage can, the dumpsters go in an enclosure, so they won't be sitting out like they are
Okay.
today. So they'll be in a fenced-in enclosure. So we've probably a year now. This application's been kicking around. So these are a lot of things that we've tried to go through, and the concerns that we've tried to work through with
The
them.
results should look a lot nicer than what's there now.
But now,
I have to
if
disagree
if
with
they
you.
do get an approval, and we're not saying they are, they aren't right now, it all gets memorialized in part of their site plan and their resolution. So the building department can take enforcement actions against them if they're not operating with how they're supposed to be. If that makes any sense.
it makes sense to you. Doesn't make sense to me.
So
Only
say
because
say this gets approved and the garbage is still everywhere, and you as a resident that lives there, you would call the building
The garbage is
department.
something else. I'm still thinking of the building itself and that it's altering the train station.
Well, we're going to look, I'll have council look into that. Like I said, we did check with the state, and the state has no record of it being a historic building. That's one of the processes that this board goes through when an application comes in front of us, is that we have to check with the state to make sure that buildings aren't deemed historic, and the state came back with nothing on this.
Okay,
It takes a legal definition to be a historic building.
And then in
right,
New
I
York
hear
State, the property owner has to request that designation to a building.
Yeah,
So
nobody
if
else
you
can
own
put
a
it on
building
there.
that you think is of historical significance, you would have to make that, you as the property owner have to make that request. A society just can't walk up to and go, poof, it's a historical
Yeah,
building.
the village can't.
The villages can't do that.
That
The property
building
owner
is
has to do it.
historical.
and so, in other words, well, you're going to check it out?
Yep.
So you don't know for sure whether anybody previous to these people
That is correct.
has ever done that?
Right, we'll have council double check. Like I said,
Okay.
based on the state's records, they have nothing. But
Okay,
we'll, with your concerns, we'll have council double check.
okay. My concern is just having it done.
Understood.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody in the second row? Third row? Fourth row? Fifth row? Anybody at all? Going once? Going twice, 3 times. All right, I think we can close it, right?
Close.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing for Valley Seafood.
Second.
Questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
David, you want to come back up? So you got to get the process started with the
The
village.
village board.
Yeah.
And the narrative.
Yep.
So we'll make the submission date. And also, just to put the board's mind at ease, I want to remind them of the renderings and the elevations that we provided. There's no doubt that that's going to beautify the building a lot more than it is now. And we did take into consider the historicity of the site and of the building, and that's why we introduced architectural elements that would enhance that, such as the brackets that are shown, the trim around the windows, the type of siding that was selected definitely does respect the history of the building. And we expect that it'll be done that way.
I just still don't see the balloon holder.
No, it's there.
That's right, it's in the other, you're right, it's in the other rendering.
You have to bring that rendering up. I mean, come on.
I have to dig through it to find it. All right, so you'll get the narrative to us, you'll start with the,
He brought it.
he brought it with him, yes, okay.
Yes, submission date, or can we just now start the administrative process by giving everything over to,
We can't do anything until the
Municipal.
village board makes a decision on
but
the,
we can revise the plans, address the comments and
yeah,
submit.
that, you can do all that, but this board can't take any further action until we hear back from the
The
village board.
village board, not a problem.
So that's gonna be that's really your next big step there. You can do both at the same time, revise the plans and get the stuff in, but we can't do anything till we hear from them.
Not a problem.
Okay?
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everyone. Have a good evening.
You too, take care. Madison, next item on the agenda is easy for me to say. Madison Property Management, 300 Larkin Drive. Review and discuss materials submitted for an amended site plan, special permit, and ARB for the conversion of retail to personal service. Said property is located at 300 Larkin Drive, Suite 102 in Central Valley, and is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Map, Section 225, Block 1, Lot 16.3. Just give me 1 second to switch folders, please. You know what? I do have it. I just don't know. If you want to, you know what? Actually, if you want to start and I'll just pull it up. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay, good evening. David Higgins from Lankatelli Engineering and Surveying here tonight on behalf of Madison Property Management. The application that we have is for the property at 300 Larkin Drive. This was pad site number 1 of the, I believe it was the Harriman Commons project. The building, this portion of the building is currently vacant. In the past, it had been used as a number of different uses, including, I believe, originally a Perkins restaurant. Went through a number of retail uses, and then most recently, I believe it was Radio Shack. And what the applicant has is a new tenant interested in occupying 1,200 square feet of the building. That tenant is known as Mathnasium. They are a franchise math tutoring program. I know they have a number of locations. There's one that opened up recently in the village of Goshen. I actually tried to get some information from our contact, but wasn't able to reach her today. But according to their website, I had some information. It was basically they provide math tutoring for grades K through 12. It basically is for students of all levels, from struggling students in math through advanced students. Programs are geared towards individual assessment and goals. Their goal is to make math both educational and fun. And typically, the business is open usually around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and open until 7 or 7:30 in the evening. There are no proposed improvements to the exterior of the site, other than the sign for the business and a new door entrance. I know that Jason Anderson, architect, had provided plans that included elevations, floor plans, et cetera. I don't believe that we have provided a site plan, as there were no improvements proposed to the exterior or the site of the property.
Thank you for that. Questions for the applicant? No? Natalie?
Sure. So this is the applicant's initial appearance before you. The tutoring center, we believe, constitutes a non-personal service establishment as defined by your code. A service establishment is a business that provides services to the public, including educational services on or off premises. When the business park was approved in 2001, the ZBA concluded that the planning board could waive all interior setback requirements, subject to the commercial center meeting the minimum requirements along the perimeter. That being said, as there are no changes to the building footprint, it appears there are no impacts to the existing condition of the site. However, you still typically require a dimension site plan be provided, including a bulk table as part of your site plan review. We believe that could be in the form of a survey or an adaptation from a prior approval. Regarding parking requirements, we defer to your traffic consultant, but note that the applicant should provide additional information for that issue to be considered. With respect to water and sewer, water is supplied by the Village of Harriman, and sewer services are provided by Orange County Sewer District. The applicant provided a projected water and sewer demand form, but the basis for the calculations need to be performed. A comparison of whether the proposed use will generate more or less use on these utilities should be provided. And per your typical practice, we recommend you request a will serve letter from Harriman and also refer this to the county for confirmation that there is capacity to support the project. Regarding A or B, Mr. Higgins also just already described that there are no changes except for a new door and the signage. We did have a question about the awnings on the building. I'm not sure if the existing condition is exactly as depicted in the plans or if they should be refurbished, but it's something to consider and weigh in on.
We'll check with the architect on that and
Sure.
advise.
Okay. With respect to the signs that are proposed, a new wall sign will replace two that were existing. I think one was on the facade that's shown and one on the side. And also a panel is proposed on the multi-tenant directory sign in the front of the building, where the code only permits 3 colors for multi-tenant directory signs, but 4 are proposed considering the Orange Theory and then the Mathnasium together. The planning board has the authority to waive the number of colors permitted where they're non-distracting to drivers and or they're just different shades of the same color and non-distracting. So that's something that the planning board should consider and weigh in on. Our memo notes that we defer to council on recommendations for seeker and note that a public hearing is required at the appropriate time. And that's all we have on this application.
Questions for Natalie? No? Okay. Dr. Phil?
Yes, we have a November 8th memorandum. There's 4 items. The first is we've requested to provide a narrative summary of the operation. Mr. Higgins just gave a quick synopsis, but we want an indication of the estimate of the number of students and instructors that will be present at the facility at any one time, proposed hours of operations, and any other specifics to the operation. Provide estimates of peak hour trips expected to be generated for the use based on available data, including any data that Institute of Transportation Engineers has. Provide a description of expected pickup and drop-off procedures for the facility, including typical schedules, and will there be any special provisions? For example, will there be dedicated drop-off spaces? On a lot of these types of facilities, that's what you end up with, drop-off areas. We want to have the existing parking utilization documented on the site. So with Orange Theory there, it sounds like your operation will be later in the day, but on a Saturday, many of these facilities, if they're open on Saturday morning would overlap with the peak time with Orange Theory. So we need some existing parking utilization data and that will help us make the determination on the adequacy of the parking in this immediate area. There are some other parking areas, but they're separated by landscape medians, so if there needs to use that, because I think when the site was developed, it was all, kind of shared parking in the adjacent lots there. But there's no easy pedestrian access, so that'll make it be determined after we see the parking projections and utilization. So once we have that, we can provide more comments.
Okay. Questions for Dr. Phil? Not yet, no. What do we think about the multi-tenant sign? Are we okay with the look, or do we want to?
I have no issue with it.
No.
Colors are close enough.
Yeah.
We'll save you a trip to the ZBA on that one.
Appreciate that. Yes, that would be appreciated, yes.
That's one question we could answer for you tonight and give you an
Right.
answer on. Any other questions, comments,
I'm
concerns?
assuming this is gonna be subject to the water moratorium?
They have to confirm, right, the calculations?
Well, actually, it's served water through the Village of
Harriman.
Harriman. Yeah,
Harriman,
yeah.
right.
So we've
no.
asked for, yep.
So they're not subject to the moratorium.
All right then, lucky you.
Okay, now,
Right.
when Phil was mentioning drop-off space, for parents who don't drop off their children, is there a waiting area within the plan?
We'll have to check with the tenant and find out what they intend to do with that. I wasn't able to get those answers from the tenant, but we'll get those and we'll provide that as requested.
Any other questions, concerns? No? All right. You have a little bit of homework, and we'll see you back.
All right,
All
sounds
right.
good.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yep, have a great night.
You too, take care.
Thanks.
All right. Next up on the agenda, 26 Bennington Drive. Review and discuss material submitted for ARB and ridge preservation for proposed additions to a single-family dwelling. Said property is located at 26 Bennington Drive in Highland Mills, known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Map, Section 245, Block 1, Lot 1. Sorry, I forgot this was I didn't mean to break you up like that.
Not a problem. David Nimatko, the architectural firm designing this project. So it's an existing house on Bennington Drive. The owner wants to add an addition on each side. The plan left is a new 3-car garage, which is approximately 22 by 37 feet with attic space above it. The existing garage, which is also on that side of the house, would be converted to a family room. You want me to wait?
I'm trying to get the plans. I have two, that's my fault. I have two 26 folders, and I apparently put everything in there except the plans. Give me one momento. I do have them. Usually I'm on the ball.
Yeah, you're slacking a little bit.
I am, I'm not.
That's a good keeping
That's what happens when. Have the authorization to inspect property. I'm sorry, I apologize. Let me just grab them off the website. Here's gonna be the proof in the pudding if we're actually putting everything
On the website.
on the website or not.
I'm gonna try to find it in my email and send it to you if I can.
I saw it on the website, I was looking around it before.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
It was there,
I'm usually pretty good about putting everything in its folders.
no, it's there.
I wanted to see if anybody was paying attention tonight. Application, there it is.
I also have the hard copies if you want me to.
Who uses hard copies?
I don't know, I can't get rid of the paper. It's a problem.
There we go. Okay,
That's it.
Okay, so,
right house, right?
correct.
Okay.
So, let's start with the left side of the house. That garage you see there would be a new addition. It's a 3-car garage with dormers above. The space above would be attic space for storage. To the immediate right of that is where the existing garage is, which is will be converted to a family room with a new bedroom above it. And then all the way to the right, the owner wants a seasonal glass enclosed room to view the lake from that portion of the house, which abuts their existing living room. So that area would have more or less a flat roof condition with glass all the way around, and it'd be supported by piers below so that the entrance or exit from the existing basement is unencumbered. It's basically a traditional design without question, and we're not proposing anything contrary to that. You can see the existing front entrance is a brick. It's more of a grayish tan color. We'll try to match that. We did find something that was similar. It's our intent to continue that brick facade across the front. Along the side and back will be vinyl siding to match again, it's more like a clay tan kind of color.
Match the existing.
Yes. And the interesting thing on the back, I mean, from an architectural standpoint, is move up just a little. The bedrooms on the left side and the right side are going to have basically, in concept, floor-to-ceiling glass doors and side lights with balconies extending off of each, with a nice view of the lake that exists. So. I mean, that's a nice architectural feature. That would be atypical. So.
If you do say so yourself, right?
Well, the interior perspectives were kind of nice on it. You know, the ceiling just dives into the glass, and we have a nice view.
Nothing wrong
I
with
was
being
all
your
happy
biggest
about
fan.
the project. Then I got Natalie's comments, and I started crying. Buffer zones, riparian rights, DEC approval, erosion and sediment control. I was, oh no, what's going on? So, but that's basically the project. The owner, it's owner occupied. He's not he doesn't want to move from the area, and it'll just be his extended family living
Do you
there.
have pictures of any surrounding houses?
No, I did see that comment. We have not provided it. We can, obviously, in the next submission. It's on a cul-de-sac. I don't know if anybody had time to drive by. The other houses are typical expanded colonials, EIF, or stucco finishes, brick finishes, things of that nature.
So it'll fit to the narrative of the cul-de-sac?
Oh, absolutely, without question. We're not proposing a modern or postmodern design.
I'm not sure about
Exit
that.
garage door in the-
Yeah, so what's up with the garage door in the rear?
Yeah, it's so because the lawnmower and things like that will be coming in from the back, and they're gonna park it in that middle space. So instead of coming around the house, they'll come in through the back.
You thought of everything, huh? Did they walk in with the lawnmower into your office and say, "I want you to design my addition around this"?
There was, what caught our attention is there was a red balloon attached to it, and so we said, we have to do something with this. But he does have the equipment there, and they would like to have access from the back.
The boat.
No, obviously, no.
That's what I thought. I thought it was for the boat, but it's on the wrong
No,
side of the house
no.
for the boat.
No.
Maybe he's got a hovercraft
Yeah, it's a beautiful view, that's for sure, of the lake. I mean, it's,
until you found out you were in the water quality overlay district.
I said, you know what, the baby must be keeping Natalie up at night. And then, she had a rough night, they were crying, there was no sleep, and then she comes to my project and starts to review. I said, we have to change that kind of process here, so, anyway.
She got the red highlighter out in Adobe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, it is what it is, though, right? I don't make the rules. I just tell you about them.
I'm joking. Please know, I'm all in jest.
We know.
So I did bring, the existing pictures, or the pictures of the existing building are not doing the color any justice at all. It was hard to render, but here's a closer shot of the building Well, oh, there you have it right there, you know, which kind of depicts the brick a little better. And that is everything.
Okay. Questions for the applicant right now? No?
I have one question. Is there a, like a paved something in the backyard that's not on the site plan? I just looking at it from Google.
A paved,
Like there's
a
like-
paved area?
Yeah, there's like this big
There's-
paved kind of,
Yeah, like a large paved area and then sidewalks, I think, that are not captured on the plan that was submitted, the survey.
In the back?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that. I'll take a look. I walked back there and didn't see, there's a big deck, you know, along the river, but I didn't see a paved
No,
area.
yeah.
There is, I mean, a large
This area?
paved area to the
Oh, that
side
big
of the
gray.
existing garage.
Yeah, in front of that.
This here?
no, there's
The
that big
gray.
box.
Oh,
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
That big gray area,
That-
sorry.
Hide it right there, man.
Don't make us get the Village of Woodbury Planning Board drone up. What be it?
I have no idea.
Because I first thought those were like some boats or cars or something in the back, but then I was,
Does that exist on the property today?
well, this is a recent
Is it a recent
area.
Google Earth?
Because they just did Woodbury.
I mean, this area is all paved, you know.
Can you show us on that one?
I have to take a look. Oh, I'm sorry.
You running a chop shop for boats back there?
I'm at a loss, but honestly, I mean, this area is paved. You know, here's a driveway coming in, this is a large paved area, there's a basketball court, or something like that, but this here, I'm not aware of. I would need to go take a look.
Is that a cover, is there a pool back there that maybe that's a cover?
That's a huge pool.
That would be.
In a weird
What, they got a
shape.
whale?
Yeah.
I mean, they did.
I'm just
do
trying to
a
ask.
Big deck, you know, along here, with a sitting area and things like that. I'm wondering if that's,
Yeah, but that's a weird color. That looks,
it looks grayish. I mean,
Yeah.
It's, I don't know.
all right. Add it to the list of, he's actually, I think you're actually perplexed.
I mean, I walked back there.
That's what I was asking, is it
Yeah.
there today?
Yeah, because if it's impervious, you know it's gonna go into your lot coverage.
I'm
Just
already,
look at
I'm already crying over this one.
Just-
It's
Yeah,
in
I'm
the memo
thinking
already.
2 additions. Oh, this is.
We'll just keep piling it on while we're at.
I'm expecting Kelly to say, I can hear her saying, Dave, you always get those projects.
You
right?"
do. I hate to say it, but you do.
It's true. All right. So this is the scope of the work as I described, so we are ready to review the comments.
Go right ahead.
Sure. I will try not to repeat some of the things that were already raised, but obviously the application is subject to the water quality protection overlay requirements of the code. Our memo notes that the lot area and the width are less than what is required under zoning, so we recommend you refer that to the building inspector for a determination as to whether those are legally pre-existing conditions permitted to remain. We did raise the issue on coverage and noted that the survey submitted didn't appear to reflect the as-built conditions based on our review of Google Earth, and noted that the large driveway and miscellaneous sidewalks may not have been included. So an updated survey should be provided and a recalculation of the lot coverage to confirm compliance with the code. We noted that there are inconsistencies among the materials submitted regarding changes to building height, so those materials should be revised for consistency. With respect to ARB, we've asked for the typical materials of homes within 300 feet of the property lines, photographs, gross floor area, and building footprint comparisons so that the board can consider the similarity and dissimilarity criteria of the code. The ARB form requires revision. On ridge preservation, the applicant should provide materials confirming visibility from the view corridor. A projected water and sewer demand form was submitted with calculations based on 4 bedrooms, but the floor plans depict 5. Additionally, the floor plans indicate that the basement may be finished, so the floor plans of that space should be provided for you to confirm the occupancy and whether or not there are any bedrooms. Again, with respect to the water quality protection overlay requirements, the applicant should show the 50 and 100-foot buffers on the plan for you to consider whether there is any disturbance in those areas, and then subsequently the requirements of your code. Depending on the disturbance in proximity to Cromwell Lake, there is a Class A stream that is shown on the DEC mapper running through the lake, so the applicant should confirm whether or not a protection of waters permit is required from the DEC. A public hearing may be required for this application, depending on the impacts under the water quality protection overlay. So when you get additional information from the applicant, I'm sure Kelly will weigh in on that. With respect to seeker, our memo notes that minor modifications are required to the EAF, but as typical, we've deferred to Kelly, so. And I think that's all I have to just mention.
I looked at the Apple maps and got the satellite view from that, and that gray area is actually a pool with a deck around it. This must have a cover over it.
Okay, so pools are considered impervious, so that should be included in your calculations.
It's a nice pool.
Nice pool, right?
That's a lot of surface area, too. You just have to stop taking projects in Woodbury.
Then I wouldn't get to see all these smiling faces every time I show up. How could I do that?
Show up at another village board meeting someplace else.
Believe me, I have my share of those too. So.
Hold on.
Wait, hold on. Is Apple Maps?
That's in the neighbor's pool.
Oh, all right. Whatever. You're gonna get an updated survey for us, and we'll figure out what it is.
Ourselves.
Say that one more time.
I see you'll get an updated survey for
Yes.
us, and we'll figure out what it is.
Yes,
Okay.
we will. And identify all the elements that are on the site. It's not a problem.
Any questions for Natalie, or anything further for the applicant?
No, I'm assuming it would definitely be, if they're adding bedrooms, it should definitely be under the water moratorium.
Yes, so I think the current exemption is 220 gallons per day. So with the addition of one bedroom, they may fall in that category. But if there are others in the basement floor level, then they would presumably be required to go to the village board. Well, so let's have the applicant submit that information, and then we'll make sure that we direct them appropriately.
Let me find out.
You got some mouth sharpening to do on this one.
Yeah, and we definitely need a similarity to the other
Yeah, he's
houses.
gonna have to do the 300-foot pictures and all that other, the normal ARB
Not a
submission.
If I'm not
problem.
mistaken, none of these houses have been added onto yet in that area.
I'm trying to, not that's been in front of this board, but that doesn't mean,
As I said, we should just.
we'll find out. You'll find
Take a
out.
drive up there, too.
Yeah.
Living there.
That's
You-
not,
Positive.
Pretty good what you need to do?
yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay.
Have a good evening,
You
everyone.
too. Have a good night.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's right. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's next week. You too. Last but certainly not least, Coffee, 48 Smith Clove Road, review and discuss materials submitted for site plan, special permit and ARB for contractor's yard and office. Said property is located at 48 Smith Clove Road in Central Valley, is known as the Village of Woodbury. Tax maps, section 231, block 3, lot 5.12. Good evening.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna have to recuse myself from this matter, please.
Let me just. All right, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Todd Marizio from Fusco Engineering, and
Jerry Chiaffi.
he's the owner.
Sorry, I screwed the name up.
It's okay. It's like you're not the only one. JCDC, BC Realty.
So Jerry came just to talk about his operations and how he's functioning the contractor yard. So 48 Smith, as you know, it's a irregular shaped lot with multiple easements, multiple surrounding structures. I mean, we have railroad bodies, we have railroad tracks, we have stream around it. We have easements coming on the property and multiple accesses to various roads around the property. I mean, around access, right?
Yep.
So he's looking for a laydown yard, construction laydown yard. He was proposing a sales office, a modular sales office, and Jerry can talk about, what the sales office would be used for. We had some discrepancies on the survey versus the site plan, some numbering that you pointed out. There was calculation number and square footage for the acreage, but we just received most of the comments from the traffic study, the traffic engineer and your engineer, and we haven't really had a chance to kind of respond to all those comments. But I just want to, Jerry, he's going to have a lay-down yard, meaning he's going to have equipment sitting on the property. He's going to have trailers, hydrovac trucks, triaxles, F-250s, 350s with plows, excavators, skid steers. And a lot of those trailers are going to be for access and bringing them on off-site, the various equipment. So he's not going to have too much raw materials on the site. He's not going to have like wood or, steel on site. There's going to be some cribbing and, concrete blocks and shoring boxes. There's not going to be too many people that are going to be coming to the sales office. There's not going to be a lot of public coming to the sales office. He's not selling anything there. He's not selling mulch or, anything that has to do with landscaping materials.
It's really not a sales office.
Or if somebody comes in and, we have an excavation project, they're going to come in and review plans for excavation project that's going to be off-site somewhere else,
Right.
in the county.
What's on the property now? Like, what is being used for now?
This.
This is existing built, this is an existing as-built plan of what's being used
From
currently.
from what they told me, it was an existing concrete yard, that they manufactured concrete there. There was a wood scale there. There was an underground scale because the owner of the property asked us to take that all off originally.
So, I guess, you're saying it's a layup yard, a laydown yard. There was a time, a couple weeks, month or two ago, they were crushing rocks on site.
We had crushed the concrete that was there to get rid of it.
So that's not gonna be a normal?
No, there's no crusher on the site.
And then all the parking that you have up against the creek there, I noticed that all the trucks have their tailgates up. That goes into anything that runs out of those, and some of those look like they've had asphalt in them.
Yeah, we don't keep the bodies up.
I have pictures of them up.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, they're not supposed to be up.
I went by one weekend and every one of the dump trucks had their bodies up, and you could see they had asphalt in them at one time. So that means that's all going into the creek.
We do have a very strict maintenance guy that works there, and that's all we do is clean that. We're sweeping the roads, we're constantly keeping dust down, we try to be very good to the neighbors. We're not trying to be deceitful in any way. We're gonna put the trucks, if you go to the other side?
Up?
Yeah, back there, so that they're not in by the creek.
There's an existing head wall in the creek too, which
There's a-
Jerry
yeah.
said there used to be a building there.
This is all remnants of buildings that used to be there.
Yeah, I'm here 10 years and I haven't seen the property used in 10 years. So
Right.
whatever was used, it's been
Yeah.
quite some time before it's been used. Because even like today I went by, or yesterday, and I guess it's all the workers, everybody's parked outside. They were on either side of,
Not my guys.
who,
Across the street, they're doing work there, but my guys are all, when they.
at the oil storage or at the
At the
Hamas thing?
Mosby. Because when my guys pull out, they park where their truck is pulled out. So everybody literally creates their own parking spot.
So the driver takes their truck and puts their car in?
And puts his car there.
And they park on the left there as you enter.
Right, and then there's parking on the left when you enter.
Okay, I'm just, because I went by it today, and like I said, it was off on either side of that easement there. It was just full of cars.
Yeah,
So-
I know. There was an old junkyard there, there was, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that the railroad track, sometimes those guys park there, but I've asked who those cars were, and the only thing my guy can tell me is from across the street, they park there when they're working across the street.
And I guess like the next question I have is, it actually happened when we were on site for Valley Avenue. The low boy was on Peroni. I guess they were loading an excavator.
Right.
So they were driving the excavator out under the overpass onto Peroni. The low boy wasn't parked in the right spot, and the driver actually dragged the trailer to move it. So, we're sitting at the 30 Valley Avenue, and all you hear is metal on asphalt
Blacktop.
dragging across the road. So, I mean, if you're storing equipment there that you can't get on the trucks, I guess Phil will probably bring it up under his. How's that actually gonna work? I know the dump trucks fit under,
Yeah.
But when you put the excavators and all the other stuff,
On the low boy, they usually have no issues going under.
yeah, but you're using Peroni Drive to load the trucks. You're not loading it. And I saw it happen.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
agree
literally
with you.
standing there as it
No,
happened.
I believe you. I didn't know about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't use
Yep.
another road to
do that.
operate your business. And I appreciate, I mean, I saw the street sweeper out, so I appreciate the guy going out to clean, but
Right.
that's also not fair to the people that live across the street.
I agree.
And then I guess other things was, I guess when the trailers were brought in, it came down the railroad right away? Is that
Became what?
they came down the railroad right, so this gravel road here, that railroad right away?
That's really our entrance. That's our address.
Yeah, but this is, and I guess we'll have to talk about it, because this is labeled as MTA property. The
Well, it's
MTA has
Smith
that
Clove.
gated and closed.
It flanks it, Smith Clove. It's right here. There's a road that.
Yeah, but there's the one gate, there's the railroad right away that has the
Right.
gate across it.
Right.
And then Woodbury Creek.
Right, well,
It's right here.
Yeah.
There's about 20 feet that is ours.
So you would clear that out then? Because that's not clear now.
it's not clear, no. We came in from that side.
So that's what I'm asking. You've been using the railroad right away to come in.
Only sometimes when it's long. But we don't really have that many long things that come in and out of there. We usually we actually have it blocked off. We're always coming in and out of Laura.
Okay.
We actually have our property now is closed off with some mafia blocks.
On the right-of-way side?
Yeah.
That gravel road there?
Yeah, right here, all of this.
Okay. I haven't actually walked down the right-of-way to
He
look.
wants to maintain, a right onto Laura, go under, and a right onto Valley, and then a
So,
left onto
yeah,
Smith Clove.
our trucks are all told to go out Laura, under the bridge.
Yes.
Make a right onto Valley. Smith Clove, make a left, go to 32.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the trucks coming that way. I guess sometimes guys don't get the memo. Because they're definitely coming in the other way.
Through Peroni?
Yeah. And like I said,
Yeah.
that's why we saw the low boy there. I was like,
Right.
what the hell is that for? And then one of your trucks went.
Hopefully that's an isolated incident. I mean, sure,
And it
make
should be
sure.
an isolated incident.
Okay. And then, you want to, you know what? Go ahead. Sorry.
Sure. I mean, our memo is pretty detailed, and I think that there are a lot of threshold considerations with this site. I know if Kelly was here, she would be advising the board, and I'm speaking for her, so, I mean, shame on me, to consider, because I think some of the improvements have already been made, but to consider that they are not there, as if it's not, so, they don't have any vested rights in what's going on because they haven't gotten approval before the board. So, with all that being said, I do think that a narrative, I know you've described some of this to the board here tonight, but a written narrative should be submitted, including information on the number of employees and clarifying whether or not sales will occur on the site, because I'm still not clear. Is it
we're-
like rental equipment type
No,
of thing?
we're a construction company.
Okay,
So there's
so you are a
accounts payable,
construction
accounts
company,
receivable.
you go and perform, so people might come in and say, I want to build a home here,
Yeah.
and then you have the equipment there to go to.
Just
them.
like here, they bring you
Okay.
the maps and they show
So
you.
it's like a service type of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
okay.
Almost a professional service.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. So some of that, I think, should be clarified in the narrative. And then, so list of products to be stored, I know you described some of the equipment, but, would there be any lumber or, things of that nature for the construction operations that you're performing? That should be detailed, the hours of operation, the means of access to the site, I know that kind of came up already, and our memo notes that the access to Laura Lane crosses another person's property, so the rights to use that access needs to be established, and if there's a legal form, that should be submitted for council's review. And then similarly, the access that goes to Smith Clove, again, the existing gravel drive is on the MTA's property, so the right to use that to access your site needs to be established. So that's something that should be discussed, anticipated delivery schedules, if there are any, the frequency of that. And then again, I think there is some restriction with the railroad crossing on Laura Lane, and I know Phil will probably weigh in on that too, but how those vehicles are gonna get in and out and, safely, so that should be detailed. A lot of comments on the bulk criteria. We've recommended a lot of referrals to the building department on, where the setbacks are located, front, rear, side, because of the irregular shaped lot. Lot area, this application is subject to net lot area deductions, so lands, floodplains, Woodbury Creek, any steep slope areas, that should all come out of the gross lot area, and then what your remainder is the net lot area, and that's how you should be calculating your coverage. Coverage also includes parking areas regardless of how they're surfaced, so anything gravel or paved should be included in your coverage calculations.
Yeah, we showed aggregate surface, meaning total, combined asphalt and, stone in aggregate areas.
That was included in your coverage
Yes.
calculations? Okay, so
That
then I
was
guess
65,000, yes.
the big thing will be whether or not, once you get to that net lot area, the coverage will be based on that lesser value. So, you'll want to confirm that.
So even the steep slopes on the north side of Woodbury Creek?
Yeah, the whole lot, yeah, right, exactly. And then something for the board to consider, this has come up in other applications, the riparian zone under your code is technically supposed to be left undisturbed. You've considered for other applications, but I don't think ever actually implemented this because it never came to that never needed to. Whether or not that should be also an area that's deducted under your net lot area calculations. So we've asked the applicant to perform an analysis essentially that would give you the net lot area deductions without that area, and then what it would be including that, so you can compare what impact it has on the applicant. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think we also, once we see the zones drawn out, we'll have a better idea of what
Yes.
they're going to be used for.
Right, so the 50 and 100-foot buffers need to be shown on the plan, absolutely.
And the 100-year floodplain, right?
The 100-year floodplain should also be shown, yep. Let's see, some things that may be legally pre-existing non-conforming conditions, but again, we should refer to the building inspector for a determination on that. There does appear to be a needed variance, again, depending on what the building inspector weighs in on, but where the sales office is shown, there's a 15-foot setback from what the applicant is showing as the side yard, where 30 feet is required, so that would have to go to the ZBA for a variance. We talked about the coverage, traffic. We've deferred to Phil on parking requirements. Water and sewer, I'm not sure if the building will be connected to the village water and sewer. If so, those connections should be shown on the plan, and also the projected water and sewer demand form, those calculations confirmed. Actually, I think we agreed with how they were proposed on the, oh no, we asked for confirmation on the number of employees and things like that, so we'll review that. Also, the sewer that crosses the property, it's obviously the easement is shown there. Due to its location in relation to Woodbury Creek and the floodplain, we've recommended that that be inspected and reports provided to the village. The floodplain issue is a big consideration. So technically, the review for floodplain development falls to your building inspector, but there are a lot of requirements in the code, regarding fill and where structure should be placed in relation to the base flood elevation. Things that would impact the site plan, so we've noted them in the code for the applicant to consider and update their plan. We talked about the access already and the questions on that.
What was, one question, the review, the cammering of the sewer system?
Yeah,
The sewer line, is that because of potential infiltration from
yes.
gravel areas?
Yeah, yep. And
the
also
applicant is-
because you're connecting to it, the status of the sewer should be determined, in our opinion.
We own
So-
cameras.
Oh, good.
Who do we
There you
contact?
go, that's
to-
easy,
to
yeah.
Inform those, who do we contact if we're gonna do that?
The water and sewer department should be
Okay.
notified, and they should witness the inspection. Okay, so we talked about the water quality protection overlay, the riparian zone. I guess the only thing I wanted to say about the floodplain, a little bit more is just that, some of the code discusses whether or not storage of, or just essentially whether the development would pose a risk to the water body or adjacent residences, essentially. And depending on, what the materials are. Unsecure equipment and materials could potentially pose a risk. So that's something I think that the applicant will want to consider high level and adjust the plan. If you can, move everything out of the riparian area and the floodplain. I know that you're constrained a little bit there, but think about that the best you can and work on that.
We do have like a 10-foot berm with that railroad
Oh, on the,
flanking the system. I mean, that's very high berm around it, so shielding the property.
oh, okay, but is that on your property or adjacent to?
It's right adjacent, it's about 10 feet from the property line.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
there's the, well, where are we?
yeah, one of the things we also bring up are the encroachments. So a lot of where you're showing what, storage of materials and structures on the site are on other people's property. And we're recommending really that that be confined to your property, and that should be considered as well. So there's no shortage of things here, I think, for a resubmission, but if the board has any questions on our comments, we're happy to discuss them.
Questions for Natalie? Salt shed? I know you're gonna have plows there, you're gonna salt?
No salt shed.
You're gonna ask the salt
About as
shed?
far
We
as
only-
diesel fuel, any kind of maintenance chemicals that to be there?
Nope.
There's no exhaust, diesel exhaust?
Isn't there a diesel?
Anything, there's a water tank.
I thought there was a diesel in the front right, there's a diesel.
That's a water tank.
I thought it was placard, okay.
No, it's actually painted blue and it says water.
Okay.
Non-potable water, but there's water.
Nothing for maintenance on all the equipment or anything like that?
The diesel gets delivered and put into our machines. So we don't carry diesel.
don't store.
So
actually.
but they would be filling on site,
No, not there. On site, on
at
job.
the construction site?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah,
And-
we don't fill at the yard.
And you have a black fence in the front of the property. I think it's either 6 or 8 feet?
I inherited all those fences.
Yeah. It's,
I can cut them.
well, you would either need to take them down or get a variance for them, because we're not allowed an 8-foot
I
fence.
I can cut 'em.
I guess it depends on what they consider the front and side yard there, because it's
Yeah, that's
gonna-
part of it,
It's
yeah.
part of it, what front and side yard, and it's also as far as the opacity,
Yeah, and shielding, you want to shield the equipment.
yeah, but this board can't approve something that's not allowed. Our code doesn't allow an 8-foot fence.
Right.
Without a variance, so either a variance or K-12 and take them down.
I can cut them. Right down to the normal. Easy.
Cut 'em yet.
Phil?
Okay.
I'm sorry, we're trying to let you know, because
Yeah.
you got a lot to go through, so just might as well get it all out there while you.
I agree.
Half and then come back.
And
I
then come
agree.
back, and then,
Yeah.
because then if you do get an approval at some point, and the building inspector goes out there and says, there's an 8-foot, whether you inherit it or not, he goes, there's an
Right.
8-foot black fence.
Right.
You can't have it, so either you gotta take it down or get a variance for it.
Okay. Or cut it to the normal height.
So I don't know if you have a copy of our November 8th memo, but
do.
there's 8 items. A lot of this has already been brought up. We want a narrative, what's the operation, number of employees, some estimates of trip generation, what vehicle types. That ties into the clearance on Laura Lane. We have an 11-foot clearance on the railroad,
The
so.
railroad's 13 foot.
11.
13.4. 13.4.
It's posted at 11 foot.
No, I know, they raised it when they redid it.
I understand. Just verify that relative to your vehicle types.
Yep.
Okay. Vehicle routing plan, you described the path. We're going to need turning tracks so we can see that is able to be accomplished with all the vehicle types.
Is that gonna
I don't know if that's the reason why some vehicles go down Peroni or not.
They're just lazy.
How would I show that? Can that be a Google image showing that?
Yeah, you can do it on a Google image and just standard turning tracks, whatever your
I would
largest
love to
vehicles.
survey, all the
Yeah, because off the site, it's just to make sure where, once they leave Laura to Valley, if they're going on to, out to Valley, out to Smith Clove, we want to just make sure that they can make the movements, that's all. So it can be done on a Google image. That's typical. That's part of this provided routing plan, for out to 32, so that we know what, and that can be made a condition of any approvals. Vehicle turning tracks, you answered, will the sales office be open to the public? If so, we want separate trip generation. The vehicle height you talked about. We want to look at what are the turning movements at Valley Avenue as you come out of Laura Lane? You know, what's going on there in terms of, at your peak time, what are the volumes out there? Get input from emergency services organizations with the activities here. Identify pavement condition on Laura Lane and to see if there's any improvements that are needed. You're going to have to discuss that with the Village Street Superintendent. And I think those are the main items. But, you know, once we have a narrative, I think you've answered a lot of the items already today. We were concerned about the access and the use of the railroad right-of-way. But I think once you put together the narrative, we'll be able to, you know, weigh in a little bit more.
Questions for us?
I have one question about the front yard. I'm taking the front yard from the 2 points at access that actually have frontage on roads. Is that accurate at 95?
So that's one of the things that in our memo we've recommended be referred to the building inspector because of the irregular shape of the lot. So he'll weigh in on what would be the front, rear, and side yard setbacks. I do get your point about there's frontage on 3 different roads, I think, right? So there can only be.
There is, yeah, is it cumulative? I mean, is it?
No, well,
how
the
many?
code would, I think how it's written is, the front yard is, there's only one front yard, the yard opposite that is the rear, and then the sides
I
kind of
mean,
fall in line.
The 2 frontages that are on, is that something that we add together as?
No, I don't think
What is it,
so.
Faulkner and then.
Falkirk.
Falkirk, yeah.
Falkirk, yeah.
Walker.
We'll put that in the referral to the building inspector once it's authorized by the planning board. But I don't think so. I think it would be on an individual, we'll verify though. It's a good question.
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, you have a little work to do, so we'll see you back with your next submission, okay?
Should we
Very good.
refer
I'm
this? Oh, okay, got it.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to authorize, make a motion to refer this application to the building inspector for any and all interpretations. Questions? All in favor? Aye. And with that, unless anybody wants to hang out, I'll offer a motion to close. Aon has requested adjournment because they were not able to get their plans in on time. So we'll see them probably in the new year.
Okay then.
So just a reminder, December 4th is our next and last meeting for the year. And I will get the calendar out for 2025 this month. And I'll offer a motion to close. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
So I will